Ever heard about the hacker who could trigger a nuclear launch scare just by whistling into a phone?
Yeah, sounds like an urban legend.
It's not. That's Kevin Mitnick, basically the OG hacker, right?
Hmm.
Today, we're diving deep into his crazy journey, from like public enemy #1 to, get this, a cybersecurity guru.
Yeah, Mitnick's story really shows how much our relationship with technology has changed. You know, back in the day, hacking was this mysterious thing. Part technical genius, part, well, social trickery.
So true. Okay, so let's back up a bit. It's the late 70s, computers are starting to become more common, and young Kevin's already obsessed.
Oh, yeah. And he wasn't just messing around with games. He was digging into systems, figuring out how to make them do what he wanted. His first big hack when he was only 16, he went after Digital Equipment Corporation, DEC. They were like the Google of their time.
Wow, 16, so when he cracking some super complex code?
That's the interesting part. While he was definitely smart, his real talent was social engineering. He realized that people are often the weakest link in any system.
Social engineering. That sounds kind of scary. Could you break that down for our listeners?
It's basically hacking people, not just machines. Mitnick could convince people to give him passwords or help him bypass security. He used charm, manipulation, and really understood how people think. Like, there was this one time he got access to DEC's operating system source code, not by hacking their computers, but by calling an employee pretending to be a security auditor.
Wow, just using people's trust to get what he wanted. That's pretty bold.
Yeah, and that boldness was kind of his thing. It's how he stayed ahead of the FBI for years, using cloned cell phones, basically copying a real phone's AD so they couldn't track his calls. He was always a step ahead, finding loopholes in, well, both technology and human behavior.
It's like he saw security systems as a challenge, always pushing the limits.
Totally. But eventually, he couldn't outrun the law forever. In '88, he got convicted for hacking Pacific Bell's voicemail system. And you'd think that would stop him, but it seemed to make him even more rebellious.
So that's when things really got serious. He went from messing with systems to, like, going up against the government.
Pretty much. While he was on probation, he did something that put him right back on the FBI's most wanted list. He hacked into the voicemails of some very important people, including, people in law enforcement.
Ouch. I bet the FBI was not happy about that.
Not at all. Mitnick basically vanished, changing his name, using his knowledge of phone networks to stay hidden. It was a huge story, and it made Mitnick the face of this new cyber threat everyone was worried about.
And this was all before the internet as we know it today, right? He was already pushing the boundaries when most people didn't even know what a hacker was.
That's what's so fascinating about his story. He was a pioneer, even if he was controversial. He forced us to rethink security and showed how powerful one person could be in this new digital world. But as we know, even the best hiders get found eventually.
And I heard Mitnick's capture was pretty dramatic, right?
It was straight out of a movie. February 15th, 1995, the FBI, with the help of another famous ex-hacker, Tsutomu Shimomura, found Mitnick in an apartment in Raleigh, North Carolina. They found him surrounded by computers, cloned phones, and a ton of technical documents.
So it's 1995, the internet's just starting to take off, and Kevin Mitnick, this legendary hacker, gets caught in this big FBI raid. It's huge news, right? And then everyone started asking, was he a criminal mastermind or just some tech-savvy kid who took things too far?
Yeah, it's a question that people still debate, isn't it? I mean, the government made him out to be a serious threat, someone who could take down important systems. But there were also a lot of people who saw him as a kind of hero, someone who was showing how flawed these so-called secure systems really were.
Yeah, like people were still trying to figure out what cybercrime even meant.
Right, the lines were blurry. Mitnick always claimed that he never meant any harm. He just loved the challenge, the puzzle of it all. But the courts didn't really see it that way. He ended up pleading guilty to wire fraud, intercepting communications, and hacking into computer systems.
So what happened? Did they give him a long sentence?
Mitnick's case became a big deal legally. He got 5 years in prison. A lot of people thought it was too harsh, like they were making an example of him, to scare off anyone else thinking about pushing the limits.
5 years is a long time, especially in the tech world, where things change so fast. What was prison like for him? And what did he do when he got out?
That's where the story gets even more interesting. Mitnick didn't just sit around getting angry. He actually used his time in prison to learn. He read everything he could about computer science, law, security. He basically got an education in the systems he'd spent years trying to hack.
So prison was like his own personal university.
Kind of. It made him face what he'd done and figure out how to use his skills for something better. When he got out in 2000, he didn't hide away. He decided to, well, turn his life around and use his knowledge to help people.
So the notorious hacker became a cybersecurity expert.
Exactly. He started his own company, Mitnick Security Consulting. He worked with businesses to help them find and fix their own security weaknesses. You could call it ethical hacking. Same skills, same knowledge. But now he was on the good side.
Wow, talk about a change. It's like he was playing with the fact that he used to be the bad guy.
And that really resonated with people. He started giving talks all over the world about cybersecurity. He was a great speaker, really informative, but also entertaining. He had this way of explaining technical stuff that made it easy to understand.
Like he was saying, hey, I know how these systems work, I know how hackers think, so I'm going to teach you how to protect yourselves.
Yeah. And he wrote some popular books too. His autobiography, Ghost in the Wires, became a bestseller. It's a really exciting read, and it gives you this look into the mind of a hacker, but it also talks about responsible hacking and how to do cybersecurity the right way.
Mitnick's story isn't just about crime and punishment then. It's about a whole field changing, about society trying to figure out this new digital world.
It shows that technology itself isn't good or bad. It's all about how we use it. Mitnick made some bad decisions, but in the end, he used his talents for good. He helped people understand cybersecurity, showed that you can change your life, and proved that sometimes the best defense is knowing how the attacker thinks.
But it also makes you think about the ethics of it all, right? Where do we draw the line between being curious and doing something illegal online?
That's a question that's even more important today, don't you think? With AI getting more powerful, cyber attacks getting more complex, and everyone trying to balance security with privacy, Mitnick's story is a warning, but also gives us some valuable lessons.
Yeah, it's like his journey from hacker to hero makes us face some uncomfortable truths about ourselves and how we use technology, and all the choices we make in a world where the rules are always changing.
And with technology developing so fast, it's even more important to understand those choices and what they mean. Mitnick reminds us that cybersecurity isn't just about code and algorithms. It's about how we behave, about ethics, about everyone being responsible in the digital world.
You know, it's kind of crazy to think that Mitnick did all of this before most people even knew what the internet was. Now, with AI and machine learning getting, smarter every day, his story feels even more important.
Yeah, absolutely. Mitnick's story was like this early warning sign for the kinds of problems we face today. He showed us how easily people can be tricked, how systems that seem secure can actually be vulnerable, and how the line between curiosity and, actual crime can be so blurry.
And as technology keeps getting more powerful, that line's probably going to get even blurrier, right? What happens when AI starts getting involved in hacking?
Well, that's the big question. Imagine AI that can not only find weaknesses, but also create these incredibly clever social engineering attacks that are specifically designed to trick each person they target. Or AI that learns from every hack, so it's constantly changing and getting harder to stop.
Okay, that sounds a bit like a science fiction movie, but it also feels like it could actually happen.
It definitely could. And that's why Mitnick's story is so important. It reminds us that cybersecurity isn't just about building stronger defenses in our technology. It's about understanding how people think, how technology can be used for good or bad, and making sure everyone uses it responsibly.
So it's not enough to just focus on the tech itself. We have to focus on the humans, too.
Exactly. We need to start thinking about this now, teaching people about the ethical side of technology. And we need to create systems that encourage innovation, but also prevent people from using technology to do bad things.
It's like Mitnick's journey, going from hacker to hero, has given us a roadmap, not just for the technical stuff, but for all the human challenges, too.
He showed us that even someone who was once a threat can become a valuable part of the fight for cybersecurity. And maybe that's the biggest takeaway from his story, that people can change, that knowledge can be used for good, and that even with all this crazy technology, it's our choices that really shape the future.
Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into the world of Kevin Mitnick. It's been a fascinating journey. Hopefully you learned some valuable things about hacking, cybersecurity, and how humans and technology are always evolving together. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe online.